The last speaker is I. So I will introduce myself. My name is Noah Kekueva Lincoln. I am a associate researcher with CTAHR in a position called Indigenous Crops and Cropping Systems, which I think we can thank Kupuna Glenn and others for kind of pushing to get this position created. It's nice that after 100 years of existence, CTAHR has, created a position dedicated to understanding our traditional crops and ways of growing food here in Hawaii. Yeah, I've kind of been trying to work on articulating the mission as I see it of the position. And so this is where I'm at right now, but to understand our traditional cropping systems, methods, and norms to support the appropriate revitalization of our indigenous crops in our food systems today. And of course, through all the work, we hope to always be serving as a model and a role model for other places, sharing knowledge and helping the world to grow. And so a core part of the work we've been doing in this realm is focused on breadfruit. And this is a 1827 drawing of Kona depicting one of the famous breadfruit groves in Hawaii, the Kalu'ulu of Kona. And some of my PhD work actually looked at the delineations of this zone, its productivity, and this one breadfruit belt in Kona that stretched about 18 miles from Honaunau up to Ka'ulupalehu, we estimate had about 100,000 breadfruit trees and probably produced on the order of 30 million tons of breadfruit every year. For context, today we import about 25 million pounds of potato. So if we were able to go from the Kona coffee belt back to the Kona breadfruit belt, we could completely do import replacement of our potatoes to Hawaii. But that's not the case. We have very, very little productive breadfruit systems today. They were, destroyed along with a lot of the socio-ecological systems that Natalie and Kavika shared about. And so, we've really been seeking to support the revitalization of breadfruit as a core component of our food system today. And so we've really taken a systems-based approach. Breadfruit, like a lot of our indigenous crops globally, are what would be called underutilized crops, which means they're also understudied and not extremely well understood. And unfortunately, even a lot of our traditional management techniques, have been lost or aren't broadly known. And so as people are gaining interest in breadfruit again and growing again, there's a lot of knowledge gaps in terms of everything about it. And even if we had all our ancestral knowledge, there's still new challenges, right? There's new diseases, there's new pests, there's new things our ancestors didn't have to deal with. And so, basically we were starting from scratch on a whole bunch of topics that are important for people to have nice, healthy, productive trees and produce lots of fruit to feed people. So we've been doing a broad range of research on, nutrition and pruning and propagation and disease and pests and post-harvest, partnering with product development and just basically looking at all aspects of breadfruit agronomy in order to support successful breadfruit growing today. We've partnered quite a bit with the Hawaii Ulu Producers Co-op and other organizations to do a broad range of videos and education, and basically just trying to get the word out, about breadfruit and teach people how to use it, how to grow it, how to cook it, how to eat it, how to enjoy it, how to love it, and just kind of build up that momentum, interest, and knowledge to really see breadfruit come back. We also provided a lot of services in trying to support breadfruit revitalization. So one of our main ones has been propagation. And more recently, we've also started doing tissue culture to ramp up propagation. But actually just in January, we produced our 8,000th breadfruit tree that's been distributed, including over 1,000 trees that we've donated to schools and nonprofits. We've been conducting ag diagnostics for breadfruit farmers. CTAHR has an ag diagnostics service, but you send in your sample, you just get numbers back. And that doesn't really help farmers who can't interpret it. So we've been doing ag diagnostics for breadfruit farmers so we can actually give them interpretation and advice about what it means and how they should alter their nutrient management of their trees. We've helped a number of organizations develop farm plans and business plans to help new efforts around breadfruit get off the ground in terms of establishing farms and having a viable business plan. And then we've also been working to develop tools like nutrient calculators and economic spreadsheets that just kind of make things a little bit easier on people who want to get involved in breadfruit, to kind of have simple tools they can use to get at some more complicated calculations. And we've seen a lot of outcomes. Of course, this isn't just attributed to our lab. There's a whole broad range of people and organizations working on breadfruit. But over the last 20 years now, we've seen exponential growth in tree plantings. About 20 years ago, there was less than 500 trees on commercial farms. And today that number is now over 8,000 trees on commercial farms. So not even including all the backyard growers and trees that aren't accounted for. We're seeing expanded value and harvest of breadfruit, reduced losses on existing trees. And really important for us, and I'll talk a little bit about this on my last slide, is using breadfruit as a platform for thinking about alternative cropping systems, not just orchards, not just row crops, but more diversified systems, utilizing agroforestry methods that can have larger, better ecological outcomes. And then the biggest outcome I think we've just seen is lots of interest and innovation and support around breadfruit. People are excited about it. They see the potential, and we kind of jokingly call breadfruit a solutionary food, that it hits so many issues of our modern food system in terms of being local, in terms of being culturally relevant, in terms of being nutritious, in terms of being a perennial tree that comes with ecological benefits, in terms of supporting diversified ag systems. Breadfruit, it really just kind of checks all the boxes in terms of the changes that we want to see in our food system. And just this, sorry, a little dense here, but just to be a little bit more real, these are some of the issues I grapple with. One is ensuring that the development of our traditional crops is appropriate. So for breadfruit in particular, it's trying to discourage orchards and plantations and monocropped breadfruit and encourage appropriate cropping systems such as diversified agroforestry. But that's challenging for farmers who are often driven by profitability, and they need to be economically viable. And so how do we create the tools and the evidence that supports them to choose agroforestry over an orchard? And then supporting diversified users is another one that's always a challenge. There's a lot of different breadfruit users out there. There's commercial farmers, there's backyard growers, there's nonprofits, there's subsistence users, and they all have different needs, they have different priorities. And we really don't want to ignore anyone, and we don't want to, for instance, develop a breadfruit industry at the expense of subsistence growers or things like that. And so balancing diverse users is a challenge. And then the final one is not diluting cultural importance, and really trying to make sure that we keep culture and you know, our mo'olelo and the mo'okuauhau of this crop, right, the ancestry of this crop, in the forefront of discussions and industry, so that it is embedded in hopefully an authentic, right, and not in a way that's appropriative. And so yeah, so that is my little bit there. And with that, I think we are got a little bit of time for questions. To see you, Kavika, that we are doing today.